Welcome back to Investing Talk Podcast.
Today we're looking at Figma.
As usual, before we start, subscribe, like, and comment to this video to support the show. So I want you to imagine, if you will, that you just found out the absolute top-performing student in your entire school, right?
Okay.
Like the valedictorian, perfect test scores, president of every club. Imagine they were suddenly facing immediate expulsion.
Oh, wow.
Right. And not because they cheated or failed a class, but literally just because of a rumor about a new student transferring in next semester. You would want to march into the principal's office and demand to see the actual report card, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I mean, you'd absolutely want to know if there's like a fundamental deterioration in that student's performance that everyone else is somehow missing.
Exactly.
Or if the administration is just acting on pure, unadulterated panic.
And that is precisely the paradox we are unpacking today. We are looking at a massive head-scratching disconnect in the market right now. Because, if you work in design or tech or product development, you already know Figma is the absolute gold standard for interface design.
Oh, yeah, completely undisputed.
But if you look at their stock chart over the last few months, I mean, it looks like a slow-motion car crash.
It's genuinely stunning.
Right.
Yeah.
We're talking about a stock that has drawn down over 80% from its 52-week high of $142.92. It recently scraped this just catastrophic low of $21.85.
You rarely see a category leader suffer that kind of precipitous drop without a major accounting scandal or some complete collapse in their core business model.
Which brings us to our mission for today's analysis. We've got a massive stack of data, analyst notes, and market sentiment reports in front of us. And we are going to figure out, is Figma a falling knife that's just going to keep burning retail investors? Or is this the ultimate contrarian value buy of the year? By the end of this conversation, you will understand exactly why the market is punishing this company so severely and why the smart money might actually be quietly taking the other side of that trade.
It's a setup that demands a really close look because normally when a software company loses 80% of its value, you look under the hood and the engine is just on fire.
Yeah.
You'd see churn spiking, revenue shrinking, debt spiraling out of control. But when we pull Figma's actual data, the numbers tell a completely different story.
Well, let's dive into the fundamental section of our analysis today because, honestly, this company is firing on all cylinders.
They really are.
They just posted a classic beat and raise quarter, which is wild considering the broader macroeconomic pressure on software right now. We are looking at fourth quarter revenue hitting $303.8 million.
Which is huge.
That is a 40.1% year-over-year growth rate. At their scale, sustaining 40% growth is incredibly difficult.
Yeah, and management isn't signaling a slowdown either. They're guiding for roughly 30% revenue growth for fiscal year 2025.
So top line is robust.
And top line growth is great, yeah. But what stands out to me is the profitability inflection. I mean, the market was bracing for a loss of 20 cents per share this quarter.
Right.
Instead, Figma reported positive earnings per share of 8 cents. That kind of margin expansion while still maintaining 40% top-line growth is just extremely rare.
I do want to push back on that margin point just a bit, though.
Okay, sure.
Because, yes, their gross margins are incredible. We're talking 86% for Q4 and 88% for the full year. So for every dollar coming in, it costs them literal pennies to host and deliver the software.
Right.
But their net margins are still technically negative right now. The bullish thesis relies really heavily on this projected path to generating between $100 and $110 million in adjusted operating income by 2026. So are we just sort of forgiving their heavy R&D spend and their stock-based compensation just because they slap the word AI on it?
Well, it's a fair challenge. I mean, adjusted operating income is a metric that investors love to debate because, as you mentioned, it often strips out stock-based compensation.
Exactly. It can hide a lot of sins.
It can. But the reason analysts are giving Figma a pass on the negative net margins today is entirely because of the operating leverage inherent in that 88% gross margin.
Okay, explain that for a second.
So when you have gross margins that high, once your heavy upfront R&D investments begin to scale, almost every new incremental dollar of revenue drops straight to the bottom line.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. They are heavily investing in AI integration right now to secure their moat. Plus, financially speaking, they have a massive buffer. Their current ratio is sitting at 3.54.
Meaning they have over 3.5 times the liquid assets required to cover all their short-term liabilities,
Hmm.
so they aren't going to face a liquidity crisis anytime soon.
Precisely. They are a financial fortress.
Yeah. Which makes the current situation so jarring. So moving on to the technicals and the valuation of the stock right now. Historically, a SaaS company growing at 40% with best-in-class retention would trade at, what, maybe 15 to 20 times forward revenue.
Easily. Sometimes more during a bull run.
Right. But right now, Figma is trading at an 8x forward revenue discount compared to its historical peers. The market is pricing this stock like it's a legacy, low-growth tech dinosaur.
And looking at the chart, the technicals show a stock in a severe capitulation phase.
Yeah, drawing down to $21.85.
Right. And you see a lot of technical support that tried to form around the $25.20 mark during the initial crash, but it just broke through.
So if the balance sheet is a fortress and the internal execution is pristine, why the mass exodus?
Well, mechanically, it comes down to asymmetric risk and reward based on this washout.
Walk me through the mechanics of that, because normally catching a falling knife usually
Yeah.
just gets you bloody. Why is this technical setup different?
Because of the capitulation phase itself. When a stock draws down over 80%, the institutional sellers who were terrified have already completely exited the building.
They're gone.
They're gone. The options market and technical traders are looking at a total washout. So the absolute worst case scenario, which is total disruption and zeroing out of growth, is basically already fully priced into that $21 valuation.
So you're saying the market has literally already modeled in Figma's funeral?
Yes. And because of that, the downside risk is highly constrained, while the upside is explosive. Even if they face moderate headwinds, the rubber band has been stretched so far to the downside that any evidence proving their revenue isn't actually collapsing will force a massive short covering rally.
Right.
It's asymmetric because you are risking, a few dollars of further downside for potentially 50 to 100% upside if the core thesis holds.
But the core thesis has to hold. If I'm holding this stock for the multi-year long term, I need to know they have a real defense. Which brings us to the next part of the picture. Shifting gears to market sentiment, it's really interesting to see who is actually buying while retail is panicking.
It's totally, completely bifurcated.
Yeah, because retail investors see a scary headline and they hit sell. But if you look behind the scenes, sophisticated institutional investors are behaving very differently.
The smart money is aggressively accumulating shares at this distressed valuation.
Right, like Cathie Wood.
Exactly. Cathie Wood's ARK ETFs recently stepped in and bought $8.17 million worth of Figma shares.
Wow.
That is a significant institutional vote of confidence in the idea that Figma will successfully navigate this current transition.
But the insider activity is what really caught my eye here.
Hmm.
Because, it's one thing for a massive fund to allocate a fraction of a percent of its portfolio to a beaten-down stock. It's another thing entirely when an insider writes a personal check. Now, to be fair to the bear case, the chief technology officer did sell some shares recently.
Which you'd expect, right? In a normal liquidity or tax planning event.
Exactly. But a Figma director just made a jaw-dropping open market purchase. One individual bought over 912,000 shares.
Unbelievable.
That is a $22.18 million personal bet on the company.
And insider selling can happen for a dozen different reasons. Buying a house, paying taxes, diversifying. But insiders really only buy for one reason.
They believe the stock is going up.
Exactly. A $22 million purchase tells you that the people who actually see the internal dashboards, who see the real-time renewal rates, they believe the market's pricing is fundamentally irrational.
And the major Wall Street analysts who actually cover the enterprise software sector deeply, they're maintaining their bullish stances too. We've got heavyweights like RBC Capital and Goldman Sachs maintaining price targets of $31 and $35.
So they are modeling in roughly a 50% upside from current levels.
Yeah. We also saw Oppenheimer initiate coverage recently, specifically highlighting what they called Figma's, quote, enviable growth trajectory.
And beyond the fundamental recovery and sentiment, there is also a hard, speculative floor under the stock right now regarding M&A.
Oh, the mergers and acquisitions angle.
Yeah, because Figma's market cap has been crushed down to approximately $9.64 billion.
Which immediately brings Adobe to mind.
It has to. I mean, Adobe tried to acquire Figma for $20 billion just a short while ago.
Right, and that deal fell apart primarily due to regulatory scrutiny in the UK and Europe.
Yes. But that $20 billion offer established a real baseline for what the ultimate strategic buyer believed Figma's network effect and talent pool were intrinsically worth.
So at under $10 billion today, Figma is trading at less than half of its strategic acquisition value.
Exactly. Even with the regulatory headaches at this depressed market cap, larger tech companies, maybe even a Microsoft or a Salesforce who want to own the developer-designer workflow, they might decide the asset is simply too cheap to ignore and make a hostile bid.
It's a massive catalyst sitting in the wings.
Yeah.
But, hoping for a buyout isn't exactly an investment strategy.
No, definitely not.
So let's pivot and talk about the risk profile. Because we've established the fundamentals are pristine and the technicals suggest a washout. So the only logical reason for a sell-off of this magnitude is an existential threat to their future revenue.
Right. And right now, Wall Street believes that threat has a name, Google Stitch.
Yes. This is the catalyst for this entire narrative crisis. Google announced this new free AI tool called Stitch, heavily marketing it for what they call vibe design.
Yeah, vibe design.
It allows users to essentially generate user interfaces and graphical layouts instantly using natural language prompts.
And the market completely panicked. I mean, Figma's stock dropped nearly 8% in a single trading session right after the Stitch announcement.
We saw a broader sector rotation where investors were just aggressively dumping SaaS companies out of fear that AI was going to zero out their pricing power.
Right. This is the classic valuation trap bear case.
Right.
The fear is commoditization. The
Right.
logic goes, if Google, a company with basically infinite compute resources and a massive distribution network, is offering an AI that can instantly generate designs for free, then Figma's ability to charge thousands of dollars for enterprise software is destroyed.
Yeah.
So even at an 8x forward revenue multiple, the bears argue Figma is too expensive because that future revenue is an illusion. It's going to collapse.
Okay, I have to play the skeptic here.
Dang.
Because if I'm holding this stock, this is my biggest nightmare.
Of course.
If Google is offering a bot that can generate designs instantly and for $0, doesn't that fundamentally break Figma's business model? Like, why would an enterprise client renew their Figma contract when Google Stitch does the heavy lifting for free?
I get that fear, but the market is treating Figma like a digital canvas, like MS Paint for professionals.
Right, exactly.
And if that's all it was, Google Stitch would kill it tomorrow. But Figma's true underlying moat is high switching costs driven by a massive network effect.
Let's use an analogy here to explain the technical difference.
Yeah.
Because I think Wall Street is looking at Google Stitch and saying, look, it generates an interface.
Yeah.
But Stitch is essentially a raw engine block. It's powerful, sure, it's free, but you can't drive an engine block to work.
No, you can't.
Figma isn't just the engine. It is the entire car chassis, the steering column, the transmission, and the actual factory floor where the engineers assemble the vehicle.
That's the exact technical mechanism the bears are missing. Because in a Fortune 500 company, a design doesn't exist in a vacuum. It's not just a pretty picture.
Right.
A Figma file contains the company's entire proprietary design system. It holds the exact CSS and React components the engineers need. It's where the product managers leave comments, where legal approves the copy, and where developers pull the actual code to ship the product.
Exactly. To rip Figma out of an enterprise doesn't just mean telling a designer to use a different tool. It means retraining thousands of employees across product, engineering, and marketing on a completely new collaborative workflow.
Yeah, that is a monstrous switching cost.
But we don't have to guess if that moat is holding, do we? The financial data proves it is.
It does. We need to look at Figma's net dollar retention rate, their NDR. It's currently sitting at an incredible 136%.
Okay, I'm glad you brought up NDR, but I'm going to push back again.
Yeah.
136% is best in class for horizontal software, no doubt. It means a client who spent $100,000 last year is spending $136,000 this year. But isn't NDR a lagging indicator?
Well,
I mean, those are based on last year's contracts. If Google Stitch is free today, why won't those enterprise clients churn or downsell when the renewals actually come up next quarter?
you'd expect them to downsell if they were merely tolerating Figma. But the mechanism behind that expansion isn't just price hikes, it's seat expansion.
Right.
As more departments inside a company, like marketing and product, need to view and comment on designs, they have to buy more Figma seats. And more importantly, they are expanding their spend specifically to consume Figma's new AI features. Figma is successfully pivoting into what they call an AI-native workflow platform.
So they are monetizing the very thing the market thinks will kill them.
Yes, exactly. The data shows that 75% of Figma's large enterprise customers are consuming AI credits on a weekly basis.
Wow.
Because Figma is embedding AI directly into that complex car chassis we talked about, Google Stitch lacks that deep, collaborative, proprietary context.
Right. Stitch doesn't know your brand's specific hex codes or how your engineering team structures their database.
Exactly, Figma does. So when Figma's AI generates a design, it's actually usable in production immediately.
So then what are the near-term catalysts that are going to force the market to reevaluate this valuation trap fear and break this negative narrative?
The first major hurdle is their upcoming earnings report in roughly 2 months. The entire analyst call is going to focus on one metric: AI credit monetization. If Figma can definitively show that their enterprise clients are happily paying premium tiers for their internal AI tools rather than churning to free alternatives, the Google Stitch thesis completely falls apart.
And closely following earnings is their massive user conference config.
Yes.
From our research today, this sounds like it's going to be the technical proving ground. They are expected to unveil new use_Figma MCP tools. Let's pause on NCP tools for a second, because that's a dense developer term that the market might gloss over, but it's critical to the thesis here.
It is the most critical piece of their defense. MCP stands for Model Context Protocol.
Okay.
It essentially acts as a secure bridge between an AI model and a company's actual data. So instead of an AI just guessing what a button should look like based on the internet, Figma's MCP tools will allow an AI to securely read a company's specific proprietary design tokens, their specific code-based architecture, and their live product data.
So connects that raw engine block directly to the chassis.
Exactly.
It proves Figma isn't trying to build a better generic image generator than Google. They are building the infrastructure that makes AI actually deployable for software engineers.
Yes, and if they nail that presentation at config, the narrative completely flips. Figma goes from being a victim of AI commoditization to an essential beneficiary of AI deployment.
That is the exact pivot the smart money is betting on. They are betting that the market has fundamentally mispriced the difficulty of enterprise software development.
So bringing all the data, the financials, the sentiment, and the technical realities together, the analysis gives Figma an 8 out of 10 bullish score.
Which is incredibly high for a stock experiencing this kind of technical breakdown.
Yeah.
But entirely justified by the underlying fundamentals. So for you listening, the ultimate takeaway here is that this presents a classic multi-year hold opportunity. You have a rare window to own a category-leading software asset, one with a pristine balance sheet, 40% top-line growth, and a 136% net dollar retention rate.
All at a bargain bin valuation.
Exactly. And you get to acquire it before the broader retail market wakes up to the fact that a free AI prompt simply cannot disrupt the complex, deeply entrenched workflows of a Fortune 500 engineering team. The chassis and the factory floor are still highly valuable, even if someone starts handing out free engine blocks.
And, looking at the broader macro landscape, this raises a fascinating philosophical shift for the next decade of investing.
What's that?
As AI models inevitably drive the cost of creating raw, isolated content down to absolute zero, does the real multi-billion-dollar premium in the tech sector shift entirely away from the tools that generate the content and consolidate entirely into the secure, collaborative platforms where human beings actually organize, review, and make strategic decisions about that content?
That is a fundamental question about the future of work, and it's definitely something worth looking into next time. Thanks for joining us today, and remember to subscribe, like, and comment to support the channel. We'll catch you on the next one.